From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, let's light this fuse and get this party started here as we fight for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day, putting this great nation first in our minds. Glad to have you on board. Let's get rolling. Three big things to cover today. Number one, a massive winter storm headed to the upper Great Lakes could dump 3 feet or more of snow through Wisconsin, northern Michigan, into Ontario. Boy, it's going to be coupled with 50-mile-per-hour winds. It's going to be epic, my friends. Epic storm. Number two, the price of gasoline continues to creep up 4 cents again yesterday. We're on our way to $4 a gallon. We are. And number three, several terror attacks across the country have people on edge. Shootings at Old Dominion University and a truck attack on a Michigan synagogue all have a common thread. The shooter at Old Dominion was previously convicted for having ties to ISIS. He was screaming Allahu Akbar as he began firing. He wounded 2 ROTC members before being killed himself, and he was not shot. He was beaten to death. That's my understanding, beaten to death inside that classroom. The second attack came around 1 o'clock Thursday at a Jewish synagogue, West Bloomfield. That's a suburb of Detroit. The suspect rammed his truck into the building and then was confronted by armed security, was also killed. Couple that with the attempted bombing by 2 Islamic sympathizers in New York City and the deadly shooting in Austin, Texas, and it's becoming clear these kinds of deadly attacks on Americans are on the rise. It is Free Speech, Free for All Friday, powered by the Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. 877-310-9966. It's your chance to be heard. And by the way, the vehicle used in that attack on the Michigan synagogue registered to a migrant from Lebanon who lives in Muslim-dominated Dearborn. Imagine my shock. We are under attack, and the root causes seem pretty obvious. I want to jump right into it today and hear from you, America. Let's start with Joe. He is in Columbus, Ohio. Joe, welcome to the program.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, sir. Pretty good, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, obviously.
Wait a minute. Oh, sir, I don't know about you, but I have a definite feeling of dread. If we do not win the 2026 elections, not backing the endorsements of Donald Trump, because if we vote for the wrong people, we will all be rounded up and put into either re-education camps or in jail for life or while you're in there.
Okay, Joe, greatly appreciate the call. Thank you very much. Look, we're not going to re-education camps. I don't know if we're going to win the midterm elections, but there is a divide in this country. It's clear. And the question is, what kind of country do you want to have? One that is based on free speech, free markets, and free people? Or one that's dominated by socialists and Marxists and woke ideology? It's pretty clear. The problem we have here as we go into the elections is, how do we convince those young people to stay with us? They don't like the war, but the polling on the war stays pretty consistent. In fact, Donald Trump is more popular today than any president at this point in their presidency. So that's pretty clear and pretty important. Let's move along to Mike in upstate New York. Mike, how are you today?
How are you doing? Greetings from upstate New York.
Greetings. How are you?
I've got a question that's maybe a little out of what the discussion is today. I'm actually more worried about the tens of millions of illegals and legals who are here that aren't the worst of the worst, right? We seem to have trouble getting the worst of the worst, but those huge numbers of people are going to ruin our culture, our language. They're going to destroy the system, everything about our.
Well, you make a great point, Mike. A little hinky on your connection there, but I'll say this. You're right about that. And the issue is when you take a group of people, if you disperse them, across the country, sprinkle them here and there, it would be helpful. But what they do is they take and they put a whole concentration of a group of people in one place. They keep them together as if it's an adoption. And in a way it is, but not that way. And so if they come in and have no interest in assimilation, they come in and they change the culture. And you can see this in Springfield, Ohio, and other places where great concentrations come in. Obviously, Minneapolis. It's changed the nature of Minneapolis. We need to clean up our act when it comes to how we handle this. And that's what 77 million Americans voted for, changing how we deal with immigrants. It's a big driving factor even today. Let's go out west to Idaho. They have the same challenges. Steve is in Idaho today. Steve, how are you today?
Hey, I'm pretty good. This morning and yesterday morning I was listening to conversations in regard to what would happen if Sharia came in here. I think it's already here, but it doesn't look anything like our laws. And if you patriots out there who want to still remain patriots, hey, to the top of your lungs, loud and proud, America, go for it. That's all. I'm out of here.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it, Steve. Look, this Constitution of ours, this well-worn Constitution that sits at my desk side every single day and I refer to when needed, which is every single day, it promises a Republican form of government. Sharia law is not compatible in any measure with the United States Constitution, and they don't care. That's the point. They don't care. They think they can run things their way because, look, it's not a religion, it's a form of governance. It is. It's a form of governance. How to run your government, how to run your society, how to put your rules and laws and guidelines into place. That's how it operates. It is not compatible with this document. And that's really not up for debate. Let's go to Tom in Michigan. Tom, how are you today?
Great. You have a great show, Steve. My biggest point is this all started when I was in the Navy in 79, and it's almost everything's repeated. Reagan was shot, Trump was shot, and now we still have the Iranian problem again. And while I was in Christchurch, New Zealand, I had to carry a 45 on watch when the Iranian thing went down.
Christchurch was a nice town, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great town. All right, so what are your thoughts now? As you see, there were two different incidents in Michigan yesterday, by the way. There was the one at the synagogue that everybody's heard about. There was also a bomb threat at the Walmart store in Houghton Lake, Michigan, called into the FBI tip line.
I think we all got to be on our toes, and the ones of us that are armed got to be watching out for the ones that aren't.
I agree with you on that. Thank you for the call, Tom. Make sure you got your snow shovel. All right, let's go to Todd. He's in Indiana today. Todd, how are you? What's on your mind? Say again?
We don't have time.
Oh, yeah. You're right. We'll wait for Todd after the break. Brock's right. I've already packed the first segment. It's unbelievable. Glad to have you on board. The Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. 877-310-9966. Free speech, free for all Friday. We'll be right back. A lot to talk about today as the war in Iran continues. What are we, day 13 now? We apparently lost a KC-135 tanker. I flew on one of those once out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, when I was a reporter for NBC News back in the day. I actually fueled an A-10 Warthog. Tiny little space to get into. It's not for people as tall as I am or as big as I am, I guess. Let's continue the conversation here. We don't know the casualties off that yet. We're waiting to hear. Let's go to Todd in Indiana, as I said before. Todd, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Steve. I just want to share my opinion this morning, and I'm sure it's not a very popular one. But in my opinion, all of our TSA agents need to walk off the job and go on strike until our Senate passes the bill to get them paid. Show the Senate who has actually got the power here. If they walked off the job, they would have that bill passed today.
That's a good point.
Things would turn around.
Now, maybe it's popular, maybe it's not, but I don't disagree with you. Look, this is the third time that TSA has ended up in this financial stranglehold promoted by the Democrats. And for what purpose? We just saw 2 terrorist attacks in my state, or potential terrorist attacks in a single day, plus what happened at Old Dominion University, where the attacker was beaten to death by those he would have killed. Look, it's time to be vigilant. It's not time to play games with the Department of Homeland Security, is it?
No, it's not. And if they would just walk out and shut the country down, they would prove the point and get our government to work instead of trying to prove points that are pointless to anything.
Yeah, what do they call that? You could just have a blue flu.
Kind of a word salad I made there.
Yeah, no, I got it. You could have a sick out. You wouldn't even need a designated strike. You could just have a sick out. Everybody calls in sick the same day. Yeah, Todd, great.
Yep, not show up.
I don't think you're wrong. Thank you for the phone call. That would get their attention. That would get Chuck Schumer off his high horse, wouldn't it? Yeah, it just might. Let's go to Joseph. He is in the great state of Texas. Joseph, how are you today?
I'm all right, Steve. Good morning to you.
Good morning. What's on your mind?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Look, guys, I can hear you. All right? When you call, I can hear you just fine. Go ahead. What's on your mind?
Well, the fact that we have all these illegals and still in this country and a lot of, sleeper cells, we're talking over 500,000 plus, or 500 million plus, I should say, considering for 4 years they had the opportunity to come into our country. And the fact that we have all these sleeper cells, I already know that I just feel in my gut that there's something bad's going to happen with a lot more terrorist attacks like we've been seeing. And like you spoke about yesterday with someone else on your show, it was pretty scary thought, but, it's just, given the fact that we had an imbecile as a president, I wouldn't even call him president, he was more like installed, but the fact that we're going to be dealing with a lot more
the threat is significant.
And issues.
There's no question, Joseph.
Yes,
the threat is significant. And at some point, thank you for the call, at some point, it's not going to be one person driving his truck into a synagogue and trying to set the place on fire, which was also a school and a daycare, by the way. They got all the kids out. School was not in session. The daycare was. But the synagogues around this country, every one of them has security that are well-trained. They've gone to great lengths because they know the challenges they face. Other churches, not as well defended. Mine is, but not all. Look, I think he's right. You are going to see bigger attacks. You're going to see bigger attacks coming. And you're not going to be surprised when it happens. But this is the price you pay for an open border. This is the price you pay when you continually give a blind eye to big concerns. I talk about situational awareness when you walk into a restaurant for yourself personally. This country needs situational awareness on a grand scale. We don't know who's here. We don't. We don't know what they're doing right now at this hour. Planning to kill civilians to make a point about God only knows what. The concerns are growing by the day. Brian is in upstate New York. Brian, how are you today? Brian, are you there?
Brian in upstate Michigan, maybe?
Okay, upstate Michigan. I guess, Brock's not perfect.
My fault.
That's all right.
My fault.
All right, Brian, you're in the snow
That's
belt.
all right.
How are you?
We still thank God for it.
All right, what's on your mind?
So I've spent the last couple of months sending letters to Peterless and Slutkin here in Michigan, and I didn't get responses back, but same thing, complaining about all this. I don't think they even listen to us.
I don't think they do either. Slotkin yesterday, the senator from Michigan, came out after this attack at the synagogue and said it's a terrible thing, that this happened to the Jewish people. But it's not just the Jewish people, it's everybody. She tried to make it about, tried to once again sanitize what's obvious. Sanitize what's obvious and say, well, it's everybody. Well, these Democrats like Slotkin. Well, these Democrats like Slotkin come in as moderates. They run as moderates, but they're not moderate. She's not moderate at all. Gary Peters is leaving, and the challenge for Michigan is to get a better candidate into that seat, because if not, we're going to have somebody more radical than her. That's the concern. That's the problem we face. That's a fact, Brian. Hey, where do you live in Michigan?
Charlevoix County. Was up here with you one time with you and Ivy at Char-a-Lago.
There you go.
Got to sit at the table with you.
One
of the best nights of my life last year.
Well, thank you. Well, because Ivy was there, not because of me. I know the answer.
Exactly.
I get it. Get an extra snow shovel, son. You're going to need it. Maybe 2. Or just stay in the house.
Yeah, it's about 3 inches out there now.
Yeah, about 3 feet coming. All right, I'll take a break and be back. It is Free Speech, Free for All Friday. All right, let's just keep talking about it. Look, these terrorist attacks have become more frequent. It's remarkable, honestly, that we had a pair yesterday, for sure. One in Norfolk, Virginia, at Old Dominion University, and one in suburban Detroit and West Bloomfield. And the only people that died in those attacks were the attackers. That is pretty fortunate, pretty miraculous in my estimation. Let's go to Perry in the great state of Missouri. How are you, Perry?
Steve,
Good
I
morning.
just want to say that I love your show and everything, but I want to say this to everybody out there. Now, remember what we all said. The midterms is what they don't want us to win. You know yourself, they're doing everything to Trump, like this gas going up. What a joke. A friend of mine down here in Texas said there's more gas than they ever been.
That's right.
But they're just trying to make it show that Trump's losing everybody's, deal. And people just going to have to get used to it and go vote. Just remember that, Steve.
Yeah, you got to vote. Amen. There's two groups of people.
Show.
Thank you very much. There's two groups of people that historically have not shown up in big numbers. And this is a problem, whether it's a midterm or a presidential election or any other election for that matter. Two groups of people that do not show up. Christians, 40% of Christians don't vote. Can you imagine? In a country where we see terrorist attacks like we saw yesterday, Christians don't vote. Second group of people that do not vote, hunters. Guys, what are you doing? You saw what happened there in Old Dominion. The prosecutor, the district attorney comes out. He doesn't blame the terrorist. He says it's a gun problem. It's not the terrorist problem. It's not an ideological problem. It's not a problem that this guy hates America so much, even though he came here, that particular individual, from, was it Sierra Leone? He was previously convicted of having connections to ISIS, the terrorist that died trying to kill people at Old Dominion University. So if you're a hunter, a gun owner, and you don't vote, it's on you. If you're a Christian and you don't vote when you see what's going on every day, it's on you. Get off the couch. Look, you can even probably still mail in a ballot. Get the job done. I'll be back. Free speech, free for all Friday, powered by the Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. In fact, if you go to Patriot Mobile today, you'll get a free month of service if you sign up. Ivy and I have used it for years. You'll love it as well. And all our great sponsors make it possible for us to be here every day. For example, the Wellness Company. If you've tried everything for cheek redness or breakouts and nothing works, it's not your fault. The real cause might be deeper than you think. Introducing Clear Skin Ivermectin Cream from the Wellness Company. prescription-strength dermatologist-developed formula that helps reduce inflammation, balance bacteria, and restore your skin's natural glow. This triple-action cream combines 3 medical-grade ingredients for powerful results. Imbalanced redness and ivermectin can calm and irritation and eliminate skin parasites that contribute to rosacea and acne. Together, these ingredients all work to reduce bumps, swelling, and redness while supporting smoother, healthier, and more radiant skin over time. Formulated and compounded here in the U.S., it's FDA-approved cream. It's trusted by doctors for visible and lasting results. Experience clear, confident skin with the wellness company's Clear Skin Ivermectin Cream. Just go to twc.health/Gruber. Use the code Gruber. You're going to save $20 plus free shipping. $20 and free shipping right now. Let's get back to the phone lines. Tim is in Wisconsin. They're going to see some snow, too. We're all getting our snow shovels warmed up over here. Tim, how are you today?
Real good. How you doing, Steve?
I'm good. What's on your mind?
Well, basically, the Strait of Hormuz, I know the military, our military is the best and everything like that, and I'm not blaming anything, but it kind of seems to me like in any war, things happen that you don't expect.
Correct.
Or weren't able to plan for. And I think they really blew it on that part. And the Mullins with their radical Islamic theology, really trying to got all these terror threats in the United States. I think we underestimated that too. It's a really scary time, and the only thing we can do is, like in any war, you just got to gut it and push on.
Yeah, that's true. I appreciate the phone call. Look, the Strait of Hormuz is not closed. It's just not being used. Let's be clear about that. The Strait of Hormuz is not closed, and if Lloyd's of London had not pulled the insurance on those oil tankers, they'd still be moving. That's a fact. What's happening here right now, because one of the earlier callers pointed this out, we have more oil and more gas. I think it was Joseph in Texas. More oil and more gas in reserve than at just about any time in history. We have 1.4 billion barrels of oil in reserve on this planet today. 1.4 billion barrels. Gasoline reserves are at very high numbers. And yet, they pushed the price of oil today. It's at $95 a barrel. That's about $30 higher than it was, just shy of that, than it was when the action in Iran started. This is being artificially inflated, and I will say it again. You watch. These oil companies will post record profits for this quarter as a result of the gas and oil prices being artificially jumped by speculators and fear. All right? Let's go to Tom in Georgia. Tom, how are you today?
Good morning, Steve. I just want to let you know, I've been in law enforcement for over 25 years. Back early on, about 20 years ago, we were having anti-terrorism classes, and one of the main things they were teaching us was that CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood are probably our the most threat that we have to this country because of the money that they can generate. That's where a lot of this terrorism is coming from in the United States right now. We declared them a terrorist organization. We need to get rid of them out of this country. They're getting a big foothold.
Yeah.
The headquarters, I think, is in Miami, and we just need to take care of it.
Yeah, big spread in Texas too, Tom. Thank you for that. I'm sure you've got mosques, many of them in Atlanta now as well, and throughout Georgia, and everywhere else for that matter. And you're right, the president declared CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood as terrorist organizations, but that's just one step. Be vigilant today, folks. Do not walk out there without your eyes wide open. Have a plan. Know what you're dealing with. Because, look, it was a Walmart in Houghton Lake, Michigan, not a big place, with the bomb threat yesterday that came in through the FBI. You've got this synagogue in suburban Detroit, which is really on a back road. Right? So it doesn't matter if you're in a packed Walmart or on a back road. The threat is real. And we all know, sitting here today, that something bigger is coming. I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but something bigger is coming, so please be aware. Jeff is in North Carolina. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Steve. A couple of quick points. The Iranian people were rioting during the Obama administration, and Obama sent in pallets of cash Now the Iranian commoners, they couldn't get rid of the regime because they were not armed. So now that we have aerial supremacy in Iran, why not fly in and drop with parachutes pallets of small arms and ammo and let the people send that regime where it needs to go?
$1.7
What do you think
billion.
about that?
Well, look, you know what I think? I think the people of Iran really wish they had a Second Amendment today. I think that's what they think, that they were able to defend themselves. Look, the IRGC represents less than 10% of the population. So you've got about 9 million people that are part of this government regime, and then you've got 80 million people left. There's 92 million people in Iran, so 80 million or so that do not support the regime, and 9 million that have a lot of weaponry to keep the populace in place, Jeff. $1.7 billion we dropped. And don't forget the $6 billion that Joe Biden said, okay, you can use that for humanitarian purposes, and unfroze the assets. Terrible idea. George is in Kansas. George, good morning. George, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I just got one question, Steve. I really appreciate what you're doing. I watch you every morning, every day. I'm a Cold War veteran, and the question is to you is why do they allow China to buy property in the United States of America all over? I'm close to Missouri somewhere, and they own 250,000 acres of land nearby some of the air space that we have where our bombers are.
Now, here's
so
the answer,
I
George.
just wanted you to
Here's the
bring
answer.
this up to our government or to the people why the United States allows that China to buy our property when
not just China,
you know
George.
the wars that we suffered and gave people die for our country.
Understood.
Our country's not for sale.
Well, it is. And
Steve,
thanks for the
thank
phone
you.
call. I'm going to leave it there. Let me answer the question while I've got time. The United States does something that many countries do not. We allow foreign buyers of our land. It's not just China. In the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, big tracts of land have been sold in the last few months to foreign companies that are buying up timberland. Timberland. So when you go to build a house, you go to Home Depot or wherever you go to get wood, it drives the price of wood up, you see. Because these are global commodities, whether it's oil or wood or whatever it may be, they are global commodities, and the demand globally drives the price up. But America allows foreigners to buy land here. Many countries do not. You can't go buy land in Mexico. You can't buy land in Qatar, even though Tucker somehow got his hand on land in Qatar because he's non-Muslim. That's not even allowed by law. You can ask him about that. But the fact of the matter is, we're one of the few countries that allows people to come buy land here. It's not just China. A whole bunch of other folks, too, and it's a good point that he makes. I'm going to take a break and be back. It's Free Speech, Free for All Friday. Glad to see you here today. I'll be right back. You know, with so many weight loss programs out there, they don't agree on much of anything. Eat meat, don't eat meat. Eat this, don't eat that, whatever. Here's the one thing they all agree on, and all nutritional experts agree on. Hydration is key to your success. Hydration is key to your health. What do you do about hydration? I mean, Ivy chasing me around with bottles of water most days, but you can do better. You can do better with Performalite from Victory Nutrition International. It is a great company, 6 fabulous products, but I want to talk about hydration today with Jeff Hooks, the president and CEO of VNI. Jeff, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Steve. Nice to be with you.
Yeah, you got all these experts, and I use the term lightly and loosely, but all these experts, they don't agree on much of anything, but they agree on hydration. You got to have enough fluid in your body to make sure you're flushing out the toxins, to make sure that you're hydrated, to make sure you're healthy, and all these things, your skin's good and everything, right? And you have a product called Performalite that focuses solely on making sure your hydration is at its best possible place, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned that hydration is something that we're all hearing more and more about. And so in most cases, at least with our consumer base, hydration is related to water consumption. So are you drinking enough water? But that's only half the equation. You can drink a ton of good, pure, clean water, but if you drink a lot of water and don't replenish with electrolytes, you're dehydrated. In fact, the more water you drink with no electrolytes, you're actually flushing out the electrolytes that are in your body. So as you said, this whole concept of hydration is mission critical, whether it's weight loss of the objective, whether it's boosting the immune system and avoiding and preventing illness and keeping your body strong. Hydration is absolutely critical. Yeah. And it's both water and electrolytes.
You go to the store, Jeff, and it looks like, it's every color under the sun of these sports drinks and nutrition drinks and hydration drinks. And it's, you get Target confusion when you stand there looking. Tell us why you don't need Target confusion anymore, why this product is just better.
Well, we spent a couple of years in R&D on this product, and our vision at kind of a high level, Steve, was to create the product that everyone else pretends to be. So what we came out with was the Performalite hydration formula, and it's proprietary, like all of our formulations. It has our absorption technology for nutrition that gets in. As we always discuss with our audiences and communities, it's not what's on the label that's important, although that's important, but it's what our body can absorb and assimilate into the bloodstream. And so with Performalite, we've got the big 3 electrolytes, which are magnesium, potassium, and sodium, but they're sourced in premium ways. So for example, our sodium is sourced from seawater. So it's body friendly. It's not synthetic sodium. It's sodium from seawater. And then we've got one ingredient, for example, that has been clinically proven to boost what's called ATP, which is cellular energy in the body. So it's not just a recovery product or a product to use while you're exercising. It's a product that can be sipped on and enjoyed all day. It tastes great. But we also have a recovery blend, which is a complex matrix of 30 fruits and vegetables and some botanical extracts, including acai, mangosteen, cherries. I mean, it's an amazing formula that's designed holistically to give that hydration and give the body the resources that it needs to perform at its best.
And that's what VNI, that's what you focus on all the time. Optimizing hydration, optimizing nutrition, optimizing your body. That's what the whole family of 6 products is all about, isn't it?
It is. Our approach, and our founder was a widely acclaimed biochemist, researcher, and formulator. He's since gone to heaven, but his whole philosophy from the foundation of the company now 14 years ago was to create unique proprietary formulas with premium ingredients with that same absorption technology. But the whole idea is to give the body the raw materials that it needs the way God made us so that our body can perform at its absolute best. So whether you're 10 or whether you're 99, the idea is give your body the resources so at that stage in life, you can perform at your best.
Absolutely true. Ivy went and did her research. You know how we arrived here. And she reached out to VNI because she said, look, I've done the research of all the different products out there, whether it's Performalite or the other products that you have available to the public now. And she said, look, they only have 6 products. They don't have 100 different things like so many companies do, or 1,000 different things. They don't have 27 colors of sports drinks in the cabinet. And so she arrived at your product. We've used it. It has been spectacular. Everything that you say that they do, they do. And I think it's a testament to your company, to your founder, and to your ongoing focus on optimizing people's health. And I tip my hat to you.
Thank you, Stephen. And one of the keys that we're really excited about, particularly in our R&D over the last couple of years, we've always had efficacious science-backed ingredients that deliver results proven by, with PerformLight, we've got multiple published peer-reviewed clinical studies and periodical publications on the efficacy of the product. But one of the things I'm real proud of as president and CEO, and I've been with the company for many, many years, is running the company, is we've got products that are consumer friendly also, meaning they taste great. And so our customers enjoy the experience of consuming our products. For example, again, with PerformLight, mix it with some bottled water, mix it in a glass of water, add it to a smoothie, you know, add it to juice. You can't do it wrong, but you'll enjoy the taste of it. And that's one of the keys, is combining that science and efficacy that you're talking about with a good consumer appeal where people enjoy taking the product and drinking the product in this case.
Absolutely. If they don't enjoy it, they're not going to use it, right? If it tastes nasty, they're not. So that's the key. You make it consumer friendly, but you make it body friendly and effective, and that's key. If you want to find out more, and you should, go to vni.life/Gruber. You'll save 20% if you become a subscriber to these products. And again, there's only 6. There's not target confusion, as I mentioned before. There's 6 products. They're focused on optimizing your health, your hydration, your nutrition. You can save even more as a subscriber. Jeff, I really appreciate you being here. We love your products. We look forward to using them every day, and thank you. We'll talk again soon.
Sounds great, Steve. Thank you so much.
There you have it. Again, it's vni.life/Gruber. Find out more, vni.life/Gruber. Look, we only talk about products on this program that we stand behind and use ourselves. That's the difference here, all right? vni.life/Gruber. Save yourself some money. Become a subscriber. Save even more. I'll take a break and be right back.
Small business
Boy, that stinks. Free speech, free for all Friday. Glad to have you on board as we continue. We've done this for a long time. I do this out of respect to Rush Limbaugh. He is the godfather of Open Line Fridays. And without him, we wouldn't be here as far as it all goes, with talent on loan from God, as Rush used to say. Let's go to Connie in South Carolina. Connie, how are you today?
I am doing great. Steve, I love your show. I watch it every day.
Thank you.
But I'm from South Carolina, but I'm originally from Georgia. And I know that 2026 is very important, and I'm having a problem with MTG. A lot of my friends that still live there, she plays the victim and she bashes our president. I mean, get over it. You got your feelings hurt, but we have never had a president that loved our country the way that he does and stands behind us the way he does. And she bashes him so that she can look like a victim. And I'm really sick of it.
Yeah, and a lot of other people.
I really wanted to complain about her. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Connie. A lightning rod and a divisive figure now for those on the right, that's for sure. Marjorie Taylor Greene, formerly of Georgia 14. The one real problem I have with all that, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, quitting. I can't stand it. You campaign for the job. You ask people to vote for you because you're going to go represent them. And then when things didn't go your way, you quit. And that doesn't fly in my world. You don't quit the football team because you don't like the coach, and you don't quit being a member of Congress because you have an argument with the president or two or three. If you have a real problem, you stand in there and fight for your constituents, if that's what your constituents want. But I don't think she could be reelected in Georgia 14 today if she had run. Maybe that's the real issue. But she did quit one day after earning her pension and everything. All right, coming up in the next hour, Eugene, Lindy, Don, Jenny, Ken, and so many more. We continue this for the next 2 hours. It's Free Speech, Free for All Friday, powered by Patriot Mobile's Common Sense Hotline. By the way, go to Patriot Mobile today, patriotmobile.com. You'll get a free month of service if you're not already a subscriber. And don't forget the podcast on YouTube. The podcast right there. Go become a subscriber. Forgotten America. You're going to love this. I'll be back.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
And welcome to it as we dive into another big hour here of the program, Lighting the Fuse, and fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. That's what we do. Defending this country, and there's a lot of work to do on that front every single day. We saw that happened yesterday. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, the investigation of those terrorist attacks in Norfolk, Virginia and West Bloomfield, Michigan continue today. Be vigilant, my friends. Number two, this affects me, so I'm paying close attention to it. A monster snowstorm coming into the upper Great Lakes. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan going to get hit hard. 2 to 3 feet of snow in some places. And number three, it is Free Speech, Free for All Friday. Your chance to weigh in. You know, out of respect to Rush Limbaugh and what he did on Fridays, we do this. To hear from you, America, to hear from you. The Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966, 877-310-9966. We start this hour out in Colorado with Eugene. Eugene, welcome to the program.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm a Michigander. I lived there for 10 years. I moved out here because of my family.
All right. What's on your mind?
Well, I was listening to a different network the other day, and I know you know him. He's right, John Bachman. But he had two guests on, and one was this dinky, squeezy-looking Democrat. I don't know, his name was Eisen or something like that. But he was blaming John and the other guests for being Islamophobic. Well, guess what? They weren't. And I want to ask him a question. Where was he born? Because I was born and raised in a Muslim country. So I don't want to hear crap from these Democrats that don't know what they're talking about.
All right, Eugene, greatly appreciate it for weighing in. You know, I just spin the wheel. Ding. And it's, you know, Free for All Friday is like a box of chocolates. Mm-hmm. Let's go to Lindy in Idaho. Lindy, how are you?
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm lovely. Thank you so much for asking. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm from Idaho, and we have one interstate going through this Snake River. It's Interstate 84. And I had my American bandana on, and every time we passed a trucker with a flag, I'd give them the I love you sign, the hand sign.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, and I thought, Lindy, you know, you need to come up with an idea. Why don't we lower diesel prices down to like $2.99 and keep the regular gas higher so that these companies can keep these truckers? There was 1 million truckers on this straight road. I mean, it is a
And
straight
some of them can even read the road signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them.
But when you go to look at the service stations, they're packed full of these trucks.
Well, Lindy, let me answer the question. Let me just answer the question. Thank you. You can't, I mean, unless you want government control of your gas station, that's not going to happen. Unless you want government controlling your energy, that's not going to happen. Now, what can happen is this president, who's got the phone number of all these oil executives, can get on the phone and say, hey, guys, knock it off. Look, diesel should always be cheaper than gasoline. It's the second distillate coming out of a barrel of oil. First is kerosene, second is diesel, then gasoline comes later. It's cheaper to make diesel fuel than it is to make gasoline, and yet it's always more expensive. That's probably because of demand in some ways. But I think that this president has a unique opportunity to tell the oil companies we have 1.4 billion barrels of oil in reserve on this planet today. It's a fact. There is no supply and demand issue here. They're playing on the futures market. They're playing on fear. It's being manipulated. And the speculators are playing a big role in that. That's why oil is $95 a barrel today. But we're told that the United States Navy, along with others, will soon start escorting oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. And I hope they do, because that will precipitate a drop in the price of oil, which will mean better prices at the pump for all of us. Thank you. Let's go to Don. He's in Michigan with me, where it's snowing now at the studio. Don, how are you?
Good. How are you, Steve?
I'm good. What's on your mind?
Tom Holman. Tom Holman. We need him in Dearborn, Michigan, in Hamtramck, Camp Dearborn. We got to clean it up. They're riding through there with flags on their things and swords going up and down Ford Street, Michigan Avenue. It's ridiculous. We really need them in there.
Well, I appreciate the phone call. Look, this election in November, in large part, is going to be about how we deal with people in this country that don't like this country. Some that are here legally, some that have come as legal immigrants and become citizens, some that were born here. The two terrorists yesterday, one was from Lebanon, one was from Sierra Leone. Naturalized citizens, my understanding. But that brings me to Marco Rubio, who says if you come here and you defraud the government, like we've seen in Minnesota, or if you come here and organize protests against this country, like we've seen too many times to count, if you come here to hate on this country, we're going to send you out. I don't disagree with that. If you come here to openly undermine what America is and always has been, the greatest light for freedom in the world for 250 years, then we don't need you here. I think that's probably not a bad way to go. Jenny is in Pennsylvania. Jenny, welcome to the program.
Nope, she's gone. Go to Ken in North Carolina.
How about we go to Ken in North Carolina? Jenny, she didn't make the cut. All right, Ken, how are you?
Doing fine. Dittos to you, Steve. Enjoy your show and views.
Thank you. Your thoughts?
My point is, this nation is in a lot of debt. Whenever you look at all these rent-a-mobs that's paid for by George Soros, and they try to make it profitable to do what they do, I think it would be wise to learn a little bit from what's going on over in Iran in the Strait of Hormuz, or whatever you call that.
Right.
Yeah, where it's bottle kept, and they need to put pressure on our expenses. The expenses is where we need to apply some pressure over here too.
There's no question.
It works if people don't get profit from doing what they do.
Right. Well,
IRS get to work.
Don, Ken, I'll say this. Ken, I'll say this. America runs on free markets, but when those companies get too big and they can manipulate entire sectors of the economy, that's where this president can step in and say, stop it. Teddy Roosevelt did it in a grand fashion. Donald Trump can do it in a grand fashion as well. Stop manipulating the markets to profit yourselves and punish American consumers. Stop it. I'll take a break and be right back. We hear a lot about fraud because fraud has been exposed in Minnesota. As a result of that, we're waking up finally to the amount of fraud that is perpetuated on local governments, state governments, federal governments. My next guest says, don't be surprised if you're a victim of fraud, because he said these people on the dark web are sophisticated and they're targeting you every single day. And they're in there. And he went in. He clicked on places that other people don't click. Dr. David Mayman. He is the undercover professor and the head of fraud insight at Centrelink. Doctor, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. All right, so the president and his administration are focusing on fraud tremendously. They're using different tools, be it the FBI to investigate, the Internal Revenue Service to investigate. But you've been on the dark web, cruising for fraudsters. You've spent some time in there. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, the darknet is a fascinating place where you can find a lot of really interesting commodities the fraudsters are essentially putting up for sale. You can think about the darknet and the markets we have on the darknet as places where you can simply purchase identities and stolen checks. You can buy compromised bank accounts and all type of commodities which will allow you to engage in fraudulent operations against the financial ecosystem, but also, unfortunately, against the government.
So when you cruise around in there, you say these folks are sophisticated. I don't even know, maybe it's my ignorance. I don't even know how to get to the dark web. How would somebody find the so-called dark web? How do you get there?
It's fairly simple, Steve. All you have to do is just download a browser called Tor. You download it to your computer. It's free to use. And then you simply Google the name of the markets you want to spend some time in and buy some commodities. I think one important thing to understand in the context of the online fraud ecosystem that around 2020, we started to see folks jumping from the darknet to using text message applications such as Telegram and WhatsApp, and then more recently to some of the popular social media platforms out there. So, darknet is still very popular, but more and more we're seeing folks using text message applications, which everybody's using nowadays on their smartphones, as well as social media apps that folks are constantly consuming on a daily basis.
Yeah, you say fraud is rampant. The government reports $520 billion in fraud annually. I think it's probably higher than that, honestly, Professor. The amount of fraud at state, local, federal levels. I mean, if Minnesota was a big mark for the fraud teams, then the federal government's a much bigger mark for them to go after. And what about fraud against the individual? I mean, these things are all happening simultaneously, are they not?
They do, unfortunately. And one thing we know about fraud in this country is that it's ramping in rates we've never seen before. It started around 2020. So fraud has been around forever, but around 2020 with COVID and the government, spending a lot of money on unemployment benefits and SBA, started getting attention from more and more fraudsters who started defrauding us. We're seeing a lot of it happen, as you mentioned, at the federal level. We're seeing a lot of it happen at the state level. And, the more and more we investigate this issue, the more and more interesting discoveries we have. I post on a daily basis on my LinkedIn pages our findings from various investigations. And so I encourage folks to sort of go on my LinkedIn page and read about our recent dives to the online fraud ecosystem.
You say all Americans are at risk of being defrauded. Give me an example of how this plays out every day in America.
It really depends. I mean, we know that folks' bank accounts, for example, are being taken over by criminals who send smishing text or phishing emails to victims or targets across America. Targets, unfortunately, click the links, and by doing that, the criminals take over their bank accounts and start using them for different types of fraudulent operations. This is just one example. Check fraud is another very important example. I mean, we know that our checks are being stolen from our mailboxes starting 2021. on a rate that we've never seen before. Our identities are being lifted from those checks and being used to engage in other types of fraud. And in the context of Medicare and Medicaid fraud, I mean, we're seeing a lot of it happening across the nation, with many of our identities being used by shell companies and non-existent companies to simply charge the government, charge the Medicaid and Medicare programs for huge amounts of money that end up at criminals' hands. So it's really all over the place. And unfortunately, we feel it right now more than ever.
How do we protect ourselves, Professor? That's the question. How does a consumer protect themselves? First of all, don't click on a link you don't know what it is. Don't open an email if you think it looks suspicious. Just delete that. But what else?
We need to be vigilant. We need to be aware of the fact that our identities at this point are very hot commodities. And we need to be aware of the fact that folks are out there to get their identities and start working with them in the context of different types of fraudulent operations that they engage in. So I think it's really important for us to have some kind of an identity theft protection plan. I think it's really important for us to make sure that our credit scores are frozen and we lift them only when we need to purchase something or we need to take a new loan. And then we need to make sure that we monitor the number of bank accounts we have under our names. Websites such as Check System or Early Warning will allow you to get the volume of accounts or the number of accounts you have under your name. You can get those reports for free from those institutions, and then simply check whether you have some bank accounts that someone had opened under your name without you authorizing.
Be vigilant, my friends. Be careful out there. It's a world full of thieves everywhere. Professor, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve.
There you have it. Still taking your phone calls today on Free Speech, Free for All Friday. Powered by Patriot Mobile, my good friends there. 877-310-9966. 877-310-9966. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. Steve Gruber there, so you can get a hot, fresh copy of every new podcast of Forgotten America. Comes out Monday mornings at 9. Monday mornings at 9. Sorry, no early previews. My apologies. We'll be back. All right, let's get back to the phone lines as we put them in around the edges here today. Pete is in Tennessee. Pete, welcome to the program.
Hello. I got a question for you. I hope you can answer it. Why in the world are we still sending $45 million a week to Afghanistan, which is a terrorist country? I thought they had stopped that, but earlier this week, I think it was Mike Johnson was on something, and they asked about it. He's like, well, I'm not real sure. And I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, partner, because I'm not real smart, but when you multiply how many weeks in a year times 45 million, and we've been doing it like 4 years almost.
Yeah.
Do you know why we're still doing it, sir?
I do not, and it's news to me, so I'm going to dig into it for you, Pete. We're going to find out some answers, and we're going to get back to you on it. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I appreciate it. $45 million a week, so $500 million a year to Afghanistan. For what purpose? Good question. Let's go to Dan in Nebraska in the heartland. Dan, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. Good morning.
Good morning. What's on your mind?
First, I want to tell you, thank you so much for doing this call-in on Friday. It is so important to hear people's voice from, a lot of us don't have a voice, and you give it that to us, and it's so wonderful. Thank you.
I appreciate that. What do you got for me today?
Well, I'm hearing about this the Save America Act, and I watched the votes. I got friends that live out in Virginia, and they've seen all the people get elected down in Virginia, and everybody says, well, if we don't pass the Save Voter Act, we're going to primary these people out. Well, the question is, if we don't pass the Save America the Save America Act, how are we going to vote them out of office? Because cheating is still going on.
Well,
it's still going on right now.
There's the catch. There's the catch in all of it, right? If you can't get it passed, you can't get them out, right? Because they're going to continue to do mass mail-in ballots. They're going to do no voter ID. They're going to continue to line people up. You're going to have interference from countries like China involving themselves in our elections, creating fake voters altogether. Sad but true. Trust me, keep following John Solomon on justthenews.com. He's right on top of that story. You'll hear a lot more about that in the days to come. Dan, we have to pass the Save America Act. We have to. I don't care how they get it done. They have to get it done. And I don't know what that means when you have people like Murkowski and others not supporting it. I'll take a break and be right back. It is Free Speech, Free for All Friday. All right, so I'm watching the oil prices here today, as I have been since the beginning of the operations in Iran 13 days ago now. And the price of oil has been fluctuating this morning at about $93, $94 a barrel for West Texas Intermediate. Gasoline prices up 4 cents over the last 24 hours. The national average $3.63. But is it real? We have 1.4 billion barrels of oil in reserve on the global markets. So my question is, why is this happening? Well, I'm hoping my next guest can sort it out for us just a little bit. Jay Young is the author of The Upside of Oil and Gas Investing and the founder and CEO of King Operating Corporation, an oil and gas company based in Dallas, Texas. Jay, good morning. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me on again, Steve. Appreciate it.
Good to have you. All right, so the Strait of Hormuz is not closed, but is effectively not functioning either, which is not much of a distinction except to say they're not putting ships through there right now. Now, we're told the United States Navy and others might come in and escort these oil tankers through the Straits of Hormuz. What are your thoughts? Where are we going forward? Because at $93, $94 a barrel, that's reflective of the Strait of Hormuz, not reflective of actual supply and demand from what I read. Your thoughts?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, with 20% of all oil, the oil production goes through the strait. So we need oil to go through there because if not, it's a big disruption. And people have asked a lot here the last week, well, what does the strait have to do with me getting gasoline at the pump? And it has a lot to do with it because if we have any disruption in the world, what happens is, it's just India, China, Japan, all these different countries that need oil aren't getting it and they're getting our supplies. So it's just causing a big havoc. And when you have that, we have higher prices. And from my understanding right now, they're saying that a lot of the oil that's coming out is going to China. If
No,
it's
that's
China,
true.
good.
Yeah.
If it has something to do with the United States, don't let it through, So, they're not too happy about us, obviously, from what we've done, the Iranian regime. But if we don't have that flow of oil through there, prices are going to go up. And I'm afraid gasoline prices are going to continue to go up, and that's just what's going to happen. I think prices are going to go up the summertime at the end of this year anyway, because we're not drilling for oil in the United States like we have been. And because of that, prices will go up anyway. But this is kind of, obviously sped it up with the war going on and just all the disruption and all the different places we need oil. We're not producing enough oil in the United States, 100% right now. We've got to export oil, and we need it. So we're going to have to get it from other sources. And
well, that's right. We currently we produce about 13 million barrels a day, my understanding, here in America. We use about 20 million barrels a day. And so people ask, well, we only get 2 to 4% of our oil from the Middle East. Why does it impact me? It's a fair question, but this is the answer. It is a global commodity. It's the same reason if you go to New Zealand, where they produce more lamb than any place in the world, you don't get lamb chops cheap in New Zealand because it's a global commodity. The price is the price. And if somebody's going to pay $100 a barrel for oil, whether it's China or India or whomever, then guess what? We get to pay more as well. Now, having said that, gas is pretty likely going to go to $4 a gallon here. But does it go higher than that? Because I guess my question is, the Strait of Hormuz being disrupted is important, but we're at $93, $94 with all this disruption for a couple of weeks. Where does oil go? Where does WTI end up?
It could end up a lot higher, and especially if the war lasts longer, because there's a lot of countries. And just think, if you're putting oil in the Strait of Hormuz and it's not being delivered, you're shutting down a lot of your countries. A lot of countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, these different types of countries, they're going to start shutting down their oil and not producing it. So that's global supply right there. Demand's going nowhere. That's the thing, is the demand's going nowhere. Either if it's now, the summer, end of the year, demand's going nowhere. It's continuing to go up. And as it does go up and we don't have that oil, prices will continue. And that's what's going to happen. Now, if the war's over and everybody's back to normal, I do believe prices are going to come down. I don't think they're going to come down a lot. And the reason why is because we don't have the supply we had before. Because, like I said, oil and gas companies, the drill baby drill is not, it did not happen like Trump wanted it to. So the countries and the companies that are drilling for oil and gas aren't getting the numbers they need. So they're not drilling for oil and gas in the United States like they were before. And because they're not drilling, and wells that are already online, they decline. and the demand's still strong. So I see prices continuing to stay up. I don't see them coming back down to 50 or 60. That's old news. That's not going to happen for a long time. That's the next cycle. It's all about cycles and
It will
economics.
happen. You're right. It will happen, in my estimation, because when Venezuela returns to their historic production of 3.5 million barrels a day, which is where they should be, that'll help. When Guyana comes on board, they found tremendous amounts of oil there. Chevron is there working, but the infrastructure has to be built. It doesn't happen overnight, does it? So these things take time. So that's an important consideration. And you're right, the oil production in America was slowed from 4 years of denying permitting and so forth, and it takes a while to get that all back up to speed, doesn't it?
Yes, sir, it does. It's not an overnight success, and turning on a spigot or something. If people say, okay, like right now, even though prices are higher, and that companies that have a lot of shale production, especially not the tier one production. I mean, we've drilled a lot of the good stuff in the Permian Basin. A lot of it's already been drilled. Well, the tier two are the wells that you drill, and you don't get 2 million barrels of oil. You only get 1 million barrels of oil. That takes higher recovery. It's cost you the same amount of money to drill for oil and gas. And if I drill a well, it's $15 million, and I get 2 million barrels of oil. I've already drilled all those wells. It's going to cost me $15 million to drill the next set of wells, but I'm not going to get as much oil. So I need a higher break even. If I need a higher break even, then it's going to take higher prices for me to do that. But you'll see that in the cycles. This is
well. Let me ask you this, Jay. Let's look down the road 5 years. We get the majority of our oil from ourselves in Canada and Mexico currently. That's where the majority of American oil comes from that we use every day. Is there a scenario where Venezuela starts producing, like I said they could, or Guyana, or whomever? Can we get to a point, and we can drill more and do more fracking, can we get to a point in America where we do not rely on the Middle East at all?
I don't think so. I think that you're going to have a lot of production coming off the United States, and because we've already drilled the good stuff, and unless there's a big recovery, unless there's a lot of oil still left in the ground. When you drill a well and you say, hey, we're going to produce 2 million barrels, there may be 20 million barrels there, maybe 10 million barrels there. So you're not extracting all the oil out of the ground. So unless there's something that they're working on right now that gets a lot more oil out of the ground, our production is going to hit a peak, and we can only produce so much.
But we've heard that. I've heard that my whole life, that we're going to hit peak oil. We've never hit peak oil. We keep finding more. 30 seconds for the last word.
Yes, sir. Well, and that's what I feel like, that we're not going to hit. We will hit peak oil because there's only so much oil in the ground. You can only go so high.
But I've heard that since the 1970s. I've heard that same thing since the 1970s. And we produce more and more and more. It's never come to pass, ever.
And as long as we have discoveries, and as long as the great scientists out there that are discovering, and we had the Permian Basin. Look at the Permian Basin. 1 million barrels of oil a day to 6 million barrels a day. Same rock, same spot, Midland, Odessa, New Mexico. 1 million to 6 million barrels. If we wouldn't have had that,
I got to leave it there, Jay. It's a conversation. We'll keep going. I'll have you back again soon, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Be right back.
Have a great weekend.
right, back to it now. It's been just about a year now since northern Michigan was hit with a once-in-a-century ice storm, completely devastating. It devastated thousands of square miles. Trees down, power lines down, and the repairs still ongoing. And the shutdown of the federal government is a problem because FEMA dollars slowed down, but the Trump administration did step in and do some good things there. Joining me now is State Representative Parker Fairbairn. He serves that district of Northern Michigan, District 107. Parker, nice to see you this morning.
Great to be on with you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
So, this government shutdown, first of all, is silly at a time when we saw 2 terrorist attacks in America yesterday, one of them here in Michigan. The Department of Homeland Security is not an optional luxury. It's really important. I hope the Democrats, including our own from Michigan, get their heads in the game and get their act together, because this is inexcusable. But the other thing that it affects, people don't realize that it affects FEMA. So a lot of these dollars that have been flowing to help out the devastation in northern Michigan from that ice storm were slowed down, but you got some federal dollars, didn't you?
We did. We don't have a commitment on what those dollars are, but Trump did make the verbal commitment to us that more dollars are going to come our way. So we're hoping once they reopen DHS, we're going to be able to see those dollars.
Right. And today, as we sit here, reflecting on that storm, there's a massive storm coming in. And I bring this to people's attention because we've already seen spring tornadoes here in Michigan and elsewhere. And when those towns and communities get devastated by a big tornado, I mean, it's that time of the year, right? You have unpleasant weather. FEMA needs to respond to that, whether it's Michigan or anywhere else. And so right now, we're actually looking at a forecast here of 3 feet of snow where you're sitting, Parker. 3 feet of, not 3 inches, 3. And you say it's snowing hard now. These are the sorts of things that FEMA deals with, but not when they're shut down. This is terrible, isn't it?
It is, and you're seeing it affect TSA, so you're going to see travel be suspended, or it's just not good for the people. And we're feeling it up here, though. All of our schools are closed. We're getting hammered by snow right now, and it's going to go through the weekend. But we've got so much stuff to really be grateful for, I would say, Steve. Really leaning on what the Trump administration is doing, reversing a denial that was made, and investing in us and giving us more help. You look at the millions, the tens and hundreds of millions of dollars that we incurred in expenses for this ice storm that we had last year, and we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of it. We've got our co-ops, our electric co-ops, that are having to charge the ratepayer, us, $25 surcharges to help pay for the damage that they had to their infrastructure. This is really a big problem, and it's great to see the federal government helping us out. It really was a collaborative effort. You had, of course, President Trump making the decision, but House Republicans, Speaker Matt Hall, we were really in constant communication with the White House. And then Congressman Bergman was very helpful in advocating for these dollars to get here, too.
Very important stuff. And here's something else, and you and I have talked about this a couple of times already, but I look at this. A big snowstorm like you're about to endure, and this is an old-fashioned blizzard. This is the real deal. 50-mile-an-hour winds, 2 to 3 feet of snow. Who knows what it's going to look like come Monday morning or Tuesday morning. But when you've already got trees that were devastated by the ice storm that are weak but not broken, a lot of these trees are going to break. You get wind with that, 50-mile-an-hour winds. You're going to have a lot more destruction. And then this coming summer, you have the susceptibility now that half of that, those blowdowns are, well, they're dry. You have a fire risk, huge fire risk in northern Michigan, like we haven't had in my lifetime. And that's a real concern for me, and I wonder what can be done to stem that, because it would take an army of chainsaws to clean this mess up and make it safe, and that's just not available, is it?
It's not, and what you see, our woods aren't navigable. I mean, I'm a big hunter, big sportsman, go out in the woods all the time. These woods, in a lot of circumstances, are impassable with tree debris, and what that looks like, it's had a year to
dry out.
Fall to the ground, dry out. I think what you're going to see this summer is a real risk for fire So we just have to try and mitigate that the best we can. But
Yeah.
we're
Whenever I
worried.
drive through Gaylord, they've got the big, the Smokey the Bear sign there in Gaylord. It's one that I notice when I'm traveling around that part of the state. And, it's going to be into the red, into severe. If we have another dry year, this past year was very dry in Michigan. You have a year like that and you have one lightning storm pass through and you've got problems and they happen quickly. You add wind to that, you're going to have real problems. You're going to see a firestorm in Michigan like you've never seen before, and I'm concerned about that, Parker. I don't know there's anything we can do about it, but I can say this. We need to fund the government. We don't need to be begging Washington for special handouts for what has happened a year ago now. But this is the game apparently they want to play on Capitol Hill. If you could talk to the people across the aisle, our members of Congress across the aisle that are voting against funding DHS, or our senators here, both that are voting against DHS funding, what would you say to them?
When we hear our U.S. senators say we want to help, and when we had the ice storm, they wanted to help. This is part of that. We had the Great Northern Michigan ice storm almost a year ago now. We need help. And we've seen this. I mean, even at the state level, we passed my bill, which was a bipartisan plan to help with the ice storm, a lot of money, and it stalled in the state Senate. This is really unacceptable when you talk about natural disasters. These are supposed to be bipartisan issues. We want to all come together and help, and yet they're making it political. They're doing it at the federal level and they're doing it at the state level.
Yeah. Parker Fairbairn, keep the faith, my friend, and maybe go into snow shovel sales. Could be very lucrative for the next few days.
This weekend it will be.
Good talking to you, my friend. Thank you. All right. And I'm not kidding you. This is a good old-fashioned blizzard. It's going to extend from Minnesota, really hit Wisconsin hard. This is what all the predictions are for the National Weather Service, through northern Michigan. Predictions of 2 to 3 feet of snow and 50-mile-an-hour winds. That can get your attention as long as the lights are on. I'll take a break, come back with Sports with Brock after this. All right, I've decided to put Brock on the bench for sports and go to the phone lines instead. Lee is in Georgia today. Lee, welcome to the program. Glad you hung on. How are you?
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. I hope you're having a good morning. My question is this, recent ruling from SCOTUS on the tariffs, does that mean we're going to have to pay back tariff money, or do you know any more about that ruling?
Here's the answer. Nobody knows. Lee, nobody knows. Because here's the thing. Who do you pay back? I know that FedEx filed a lawsuit to say, hey, you owe us this money, but hey, wait a second. FedEx passed that expense on to consumers with higher delivery costs and so forth. So shouldn't the money go back to consumers? This will be wrapped up in court for years and years and years. That's the fact, Lee. Greatly appreciate the phone call. Thank you so much. Yes, the Supreme Court ruled that way. This could be tied up in court for 10 years. I don't know where it's going to go. Dave is in Arizona. Dave, how are you?
Thank you so much, Mr. Gerber. I'm blessed and highly favored. Hope you are as well, and
Yes,
Ms.
sir.
Ivy too.
Yep. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so I know how we need to resolve this judicial and legislative branch coup, but I pray for peace in the interim. So I posted today on my Getter account, and I mentioned you. It's my pinned post, PSU_SIGEP, for everybody to pick up their phones and call Leader Thune and demand that the SAVE Act be at least heard on the floor in the well of the Senate. These people are not very courageous. They're in the most exclusive club in the world.
Correct.
100 senators. The least they owe us as our servants is to stand up and debate the issue, so we know where people stand. Thank you, sir.
I agree with that. It is the most exclusive club in the world. And yes, people need to debate these issues. It's an 80-20 issue or more. People believe in voter ID. And they only want citizens to vote. That's true of Democrats too. It's a bipartisan deal. Great call from Dave. You can join the conversation yourself. 877-310-9966. 877-310-9966. In the next hour, we'll hear from Steve Doolan. And Ivy will be here for 2 full segments. I mean, it's like Christmas in March, isn't it? It's the Steve Gruber Show. We'll be back.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
Diving into another big hour here, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. We're going to need a snow shovel in there. I'll get to that in a second. In fact, here are the three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, let's talk about that storm. What do they call this? The polar vortex. It's going to bomb the upper Great Lakes with 2 to 3 feet of snow. Some areas even more. We'll talk about that. Number two, the investigations into a pair of terrorist attacks in America, one in Virginia, one in suburban Detroit yesterday. We'll talk about that. And number three, it is Free Speech, Free for All Friday, powered by the Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. 877-310-9966. If you go to Patriot Mobile today, if you're not already signed up, if you're already not a customer, you can get a free month of service right now. All-American, what do we call that? Call center? Yeah. The folks that answer the phone are right here at the call center. Good news, right? Let's go to Dan. He's in Tennessee on the hotline. Dan, how are you?
Yes, Steve, two things. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Thank you, Mike
We
Tyson.
got punched in the face at Pearl Harbor. We got punched in the face at 9/11. Are we going to wait for Iran to punch us in the face? No. President Trump's taking them out now. We don't do this, we're going to end up with a nuke in the middle of the United States, and then the American people are going to be asking the same question they asked at Pearl Harbor and 9/11. How can we not let this happen? That's it.
That's it. That's one. What was number two? They are trying desperately to hang on to power in Tehran. I don't know how this plays out. None of us do. None of us do. I support the actions after 47 years and the terrorist proxies of Hezbollah, Hamas, Al-Qaeda, all the rest. So I'm on board for now. But if this lasts 6 months, it's subject to change. We'll see where we are in a month. It won't be over in a month. Just trust me on that. This idea that it's going to be over in a week is just not sensible. It's not. By the way, in an unexpected move, China has declared the attacks by Iran on its neighbors is unacceptable, calling on Tehran to stop these attacks immediately on the UAE, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and all the rest. Listen.
China does not agree with the attacks on Gulf states and condemns all indiscriminate attacks on civilians and non-military targets. The urgent task is to immediately cease military operations and prevent further expansion of the conflict. The solution lies in returning to dialogue and negotiation as soon as possible and striving to restore peace. The fundamental solution is to jointly return to the right track of abiding by international law and the basic norms of international relations.
Yeah, there you have it. By the way, have you seen this? Gas lines, massive gas lines in China. Now, our price of gas has gone up 50 cents or 70 cents. It's a pinch, no question about it, especially for people who are just trying to make their paycheck stretch. But in China, just look at this. Listen to this. You've got hundreds and hundreds of cars lined up just trying to get gasoline in China. The gas in China now over $5 a gallon because of what's happened in Iran. So if you think it impacts the United States, I can assure you it impacts China much more severely. Look at that. It's remarkable. 3 and 4 cars wide, jammed up just to get into the gas station. All right, so you got that going on. So let's take a deeper dive. This was one of the favorite things I saw all week, right? One of my favorite things all week. Real science about oil in California. There's a bunch of activists at this meeting, And this gentleman steps up to the microphone and explains oil in California and how not having oil in California, not putting oil wells in California, not producing oil in California is terrible for the environment. A complete 360 from what the Green New Dealers would like to hear. Listen to the facts.
Hello, thank you. My name is Mike Umbro with an organization called Californians for Energy and Science. Hopefully this one of these last comments, we can focus on some science here. California's consumed over 500 million barrels of crude for the last 40 plus years. So anybody saying demand is declining is just not presenting the truth. Specific to Santa Barbara, this is an active region. The Chumash discovered oil here thousands of years ago based on oil seeps. National Geographic actually says they had smaller head sizes, so you can imagine the amount of volatile organic compounds that were freely being released into this atmosphere, into this ecosystem at that time. Thankfully, we learned how to produce it, which is the only way to reduce natural crude oil seeps and reduce the emissions that you're going to see if you shut down this industry. The Santa Barbara Channel is home to some of the largest natural oil and gas seeps in the world, emitting methane, ethane, propane, benzene, and other VOCs. UC Santa Barbara's Marine Science Institute has published multiple studies on this, documenting that the seeps account for more hydrocarbon emissions than all permitted offshore platforms combined during production years.
During production, so here's what happens. You have this seepage. When you drill for oil, you lower the pressure. The seepage goes down. He went on to say that if you discontinue oil production in California, as the Green New Dealers would have you want, then you're going to end up with oil on the beaches. It's going to smell like oil because it's there. It's coming out of the ground naturally because of geological pressure. He said you will destroy your tourist industry. You will destroy the beaches. You will destroy good parts of California that people come there for by discontinuing the production of oil. More seepage than all the oil production combined. Remarkable when facts come into play, and this is not from him, it's from the universities like UC Santa Barbara. Pretty remarkable, isn't it, when you hear the truth? It is. Let me tell you about something people keep asking me about, the QE infrared facial mask. It's red and infrared light therapy you can use at home to help support healthier looking skin, boost collagen, and soften the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. Instead of expensive spa treatments, you just wear the mask for a few minutes a day. It's comfortable, it's easy to use, fits right into your routine, and it is inexpensive. This is the same mask featured when I talk about what Ivy uses. People are loving the results. Skip the costly spa visits. Go to QEstrong.com. Use the promo code Gruber. Get the mask for under $200. It's a remarkable price. It really is. That's QEstrong.com. Promo code is Gruber. Check it out. If Ivy uses it, it's got to be good. That's what I say about it. Still to come, the most talented, best-looking attorney of all time will be here with me, Steve Doolin. That's right, on a free speech, Free for All Friday. You can still use the phone lines, 877-310-9966, if you want to make a comment and weigh in today. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back to it. It's that time of the week when I get to bring in the most talented, best-looking, most accomplished attorney in the history of the world. That's right, good-looking son of a gun, Steve Doolin. There he is, folks.
Gruber, I know I'm funny-looking. You don't have to tease me.
Why you pick on the funny-looking kid? Well, you know. All right, I want to talk about two very serious things, two terrorist attacks in America yesterday. The FBI can say they're doing an investigation. I did mine. These are terrorist attacks. One at Old Dominion University, Norfolk, Virginia. I want to start there. The perpetrator, apparently from Sierra Leone, a naturalized citizen from what I understand, formally convicted of having connections to ISIS, right? All right, so let me ask about this. Oh, by the way, just as an aside, he was beaten to death by the people he was trying to kill. They didn't have guns. They just beat him to death. And so, you know, you have that going for you. You like that, don't you, Doolin? They beat him to death.
I love these heartwarming stories.
Yeah. You're a terrorist. Let's just beat you to death right here in the classroom. Here's my question. Yeah. Virginia, a bastion of gun control laws. They want more. They've got red flag laws. How did a guy previously convicted of connections to ISIS in this country get his hands on guns if the red flag laws were worth anything?
Well, it's always the same people who open the borders, who keep the predators on the streets, who want to take away your guns.
Well, let me jump right in there because you're exactly on point, because the district attorney there in Norfolk, Virginia, he didn't blame the terrorist. He blamed the guns and the gun culture cult of America for this that happened at Old Dominion. So right. Predictable.
Right. And the same folks will also pretend that the police are supposed to protect you. But the truth is, there have been lawsuits against police officers or police departments, cities,
yep,
for failure to protect. And it turns out your local police, while very well intentioned, and most of them take that protect and serve very seriously, are not liable for protecting your safety. That's very clear in law. So if you sue the police, whether, you sue the city is really what you do, but if you sue the police department for failure to protect you, even if you have called 911 and explained that it's a dire situation and your life is in danger, you can't win, because the only time the police have a specific duty to protect an individual citizen is when that person is in custody. And that's it. Prior to that, we're all on our own in terms of self-protection.
Right.
And again, it's the same people who are changing the conditions around us so dramatically over the past several years to make life more dangerous for everybody.
Yeah.
They want to take away your ability to defend yourself.
Let's look at the other side of that coin. Shortly after the attack at Old Dominion, and the attacker was subdued and beaten to death. I'd like to repeat that again, beaten to death. Sometimes, you get what's coming to you, right? There was an attack at a synagogue in West Bloomfield Township, Michigan, about 25 miles from downtown Detroit. The attacker drove a pickup truck, allegedly loaded with some explosive devices, into the temple, boom, and then was confronted by apparently some pretty well-trained security guards who neutralized him in short order as well. No, this is a remarkable turn of events. 2 terrorist attacks, 2 dead people, both terrorists.
Right.
That's a pretty good day at the races for us, but these things are going to continue. We've seen the attack in New York City where they tried to throw bombs. We saw the shooting in Austin, Texas by a guy wearing Property of Allah sweatshirt. But I cannot stress enough how important good training and preparation is as it rolled out in West Bloomfield. And you say?
Absolutely true. You are your own first responder. And the Patton, who once said, the only tactical principle not subject to change is to do the maximum amount of damage with whatever, in the minimum amount of time, with whatever means are at hand. And sometimes that's literally just your hand, right? So training, being aware, of course, is the most important part. Being situationally aware is the term, right? So not putting yourself in harm's way, being aware of danger as it develops, having some kind of plan in place, even if it's fairly minimal plan in place, is much better than being caught completely unprepared. And the other thing that I took away from the school attack is the fact that the folks who sent their kids to that school love their kids more than most school boards love their kids.
That's right.
What we get back from school boards and from teachers' unions every time there's a proposal to either allow trained teachers to be armed or to have actual armed security in schools is generally overwhelmingly negative.
Right.
And so this
we don't want guns in school. It scares the children and blah, blah, blah. Look, they neutralized that guy in short order there in West Bloomfield, and good for them. I'm glad they were prepared. I'm glad they put their kids' lives first, and they did. Pretty remarkable. I'm going to steal that line, though, that you just gave me, Doolin. You are your own first responder. You are your own first responder. You are responsible first and foremost for your safety and those in your direct circle, right? That's just the way it is.
Sure. Here's another basic tactical principle. When seconds count, the police are only minutes away.
Yeah.
The police did a great job. They were there very quickly at the school, at the synagogue school there, or temple school. But the individuals who were on the scene were necessary to prevent some of those kids from getting harmed.
It would have been a massacre.
Right.
It would have been a massacre without that first line of defense, because the police would have arrived and it would have been too late. You're exactly right. Doolin, I got to leave it there. Greatly appreciate your insights. You're brilliant, as always. Steve Doolin, everybody. Best looking, most accomplished, most brilliant attorney in the history of attorneys. Sir, thank you.
Thanks, Gruber. Appreciate it.
Have a great weekend. Enjoy the snow. All right. In a moment here, we're going to shift gears, and the one, the only, the most talented woman in broadcast today, Ivy, will be here with me. So you don't want to miss that. Stick around. All right, so here, the feedback from these terrorist attacks is this. Ayman Mohammed Ghazali, that was the Lebanese-born naturalized American citizen who attacked that synagogue in West Bloomfield, Michigan yesterday. Ayman Mohammed Ghazali. He reportedly targeted the Jewish community after suffering family losses in Lebanon. Dearborn Heights Mayor Mo Baidoun says Ghazali was a resident of that city, Dearborn Heights. He rammed into the Temple Israel, large synagogue, West Bloomfield, about just before 12:30 local time. He then exited the vehicle with a rifle, exchanged gunfire with armed security, who killed him. I'm still a big fan of what happened in Norfolk, Virginia. They didn't have any guns, so they beat the terrorist to death, sent him to see Allah. The tragic attack on Temple Israel Synagogue, West Bloomfield, was carried out by Ayman Mohammed Ghazali, said the Department of Homeland Security. They confirmed that. Earlier today, we learned that the individual responsible for the incident was a resident of Dearborn Heights. He died at the scene. So there you have it. Be vigilant. be prepared. That's all I can tell you. Be vigilant and be prepared. Big storm coming, as you know. We've been watching it. I think I might go see it in person. Haven't decided yet, but I might just go see it in person. Hole up at the northern compound, see if it's really as big as they say. Because if it's as big as they say, it could be an epic blizzard of historical proportions. You need to be ready for anything. That's why I use Doty's Service Network. Same great people, new name, and expanded services. They offer plumbing, appliance repair, plus HVAC solutions, heating and cooling, leaky pipes, broken appliances, doesn't matter. Doty is growing to serve all of your needs. Think of them as your home's new best friend, ready whenever you need. Call Doty Service Network today for service you can trust, or you can go to DotyMechanical.com. All in mid-Michigan, DotyMechanical.com. Good friends of mine, done great service for me. Experience the Doty difference. I have for years. I think they're just great. Experience the Doty difference. 517-327-7777. I'll be back with Ivy after this. Aha.
Welcome back on this Free for All Friday.
Well done. Look at her go.
Well, she's got to bring you on, Steve.
Oh, yeah, you got to bring me on.
Welcome back, Steve.
Thank you.
Happy to have
so
you
much.
here on a Free for All Friday. Had some interesting callers throughout the day today.
Always. It's fascinating. I do that out of, now you were probably, you might have heard some Rush Limbaugh in your life. You did, but
I did, yeah. I listened to him pretty avidly.
I remember the first time I heard him, it was the late 1990s, right? I heard, who is this guy? And I was at a radio station at the time. And one guy goes, oh, he's awful. And the other guy goes, oh, he's great. And so that was the divide all the way back then.
Yeah, well, isn't that so true? It just continues on and on throughout history.
It does.
Into the future.
Yeah, and he became, the biggest voice.
I know that you're a big conspiracy theorist online, and you dye your hair. And
What?
You're bad for America, and all you do is tell lies.
Yeah, that's me. I'm
That's
a
what I hear
racist.
online anyways.
Wait. I'm racist. I'm homophobic.
All right.
Don't forget
You're
those
a fascist.
things. I'm a
Okay.
fascist.
And I am too.
And a Nazi.
Yeah.
Don't forget that.
Exactly.
All right, so some things we've been doing lately I'd like to talk about just for a moment here. And that is Forgotten America, the podcast, right?
Yeah.
You and I have been doing this for a few weeks now. We've had some remarkable guests, and I'd like to reflect on a couple of these. First, Tiffany Cianci. She came in to talk about private equity and how private equity is taking over the things that we love the most, things like
Right.
veterinary offices, senior centers, playgrounds and adventure parks for our kids. And what's weird is when you sign your name to go to an adventure park, for example.
Which you never read.
Which
you
you
just
never
scroll
read.
through it
You
and then sign it.
to get your ticket. You've signed away all your rights.
Yeah.
All of them. You've signed a non-disclosure agreement if something bad happens. And
Which I
you've-
kind of think we know going in, right? I think we know that we're like signing away any legal right to sue if something happens to me. But the problem is, it's their safety concerns that not my own safety concerns
Not your
because I did
kids.
something dumb.
Right.
It's their safety measures that are the ones that need to be scrutinized.
Absolutely. And you've signed away your right to sue. You get arbitration and a
Right.
non-disclosure agreement. So if you're at one of these adventure parks, and she talks about this, I'm not sure which bite we've got here, but here is Tiffany Cianci, an example of Forgotten America. Go.
Her pension's gone because it'll become an asset, and she's a minor creditor. But what matters more about the pensions is that's where most of the private equity firms are borrowing their money. It's from pensions. And so the pensions are losing everything right now all over the U.S. A really good example, the Oregon State teachers pension, they invested billions in private equity. And unfortunately, they were promised huge returns by the private equity firm when they were getting 0% interest rates. They're like, you're going to win huge. And so the pension for 10 years put on their books that they were shored up, that they had the money they needed to pay out the teachers. Well, when the returns finally came in, when that fund closed, they'd only made 4%. And during that same time period, the stock market had given almost 40% returns.
Yeah, there you have it. So it's all about the money. So when you sign away your rights, it's to protect the private equity firm that runs your veterinary office or the old folks' home.
And this was this particular story that she was talking about was a financial advisor that mishandled their money and put everything into private equity and essentially lost all the teachers' pensions because they thought there was going to be a huge return on investing in private equity when there's a 4%, and the market performed during that year a lot better than that.
Well, that was over 10 years, and here's the thing.
Yeah.
Over that 10-year period, inflation shoot up 25%.
Right.
They got 4%. They lost badly.
Yeah.
It was a terrible thing, and that's
right.
one example. But these conversations we're having, they're long form. They run about anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and 10 or 15
Right.
minutes. I'm really enjoying it.
And I want to go back to that conversation with Tiffany Cianci because, why isn't there legislation out there that if you take your kids to an adventure park, like our son yesterday went to launch, where you jump on trampolines. Well, there are a lot of injuries that occur there.
Sure.
Kids break necks, things like that, because are there enough people watching and making sure that your kids are doing smart things, or
And safe.
are you doing making sure that your kids are doing smart things? But I think if you go into these places, you should be able to ask, hey, have there been any injuries here? Have there been any deaths here? What kind of safety measures do you have in place? Because then you can pick and choose. All right, I know this place has had a lot of injuries. I don't probably want to go there.
Right.
But
Absolutely
it is
true.
not the case at all. There are, I think theme parks have, you have to disclose injuries and things like that. But if you're one
But
of
not
these...
necessarily. Depends on who owns it. And,
it depends on the state.
if
I know
you
Florida
have-
has some good laws in place. Imagine that. But other states don't. So,
But if you
it's-
have a trampoline in your backyard and your insurance adjuster drives by your house to check on
Yeah.
your house,
Good luck
They'll
getting
tell
insurance.
they'll tell you to get rid of the trampoline or lose your insurance, but yet you can have a trampoline park, as an example, that won't tell you about injuries because they don't have to, because when you bought the ticket, you signed the form, and you lost all your rights immediately. Okay, so that's one example of Forgotten America.
And if you're interested in watching that, go on to Steve Gruber on YouTube, and you can go to the Forgotten America podcast, and you can listen in.
Yeah, and here's another example. Peter Schweitzer talking about what's happening with Mexico. You know, I had no idea this was happening. He just wrote a new book, The Invisible Coup, did Peter Schweitzer, a best-selling New York Times author who wrote Clinton Cash and other great books. Smart guy. I just saw him testifying in front of Congress again. And he says that there are members of the Mexican parliament that live where? Here. They don't even live in Mexico, representing people who live here. Here's another example of Forgotten America. Listen.
But the drug cartels have also migrated north of the border in terms of political influence. So there's been a move among progressives in the United States by Bernie Sanders and others to form an international body where progressives in North America and South America will work together. It's called Progressive International. It was founded by Senator Sanders in 2018. It's run by his former foreign policy advisor. His staff does a lot of work with them. AOC, a bunch of congressmen are involved as well. The problem is Progressive International, when you look at the leadership that is involved there, and I go into excruciating detail about this in the book, probably 30% of their leaders are directly tied to the drug cartels. Just no question about it. And what's happened is American progressives, I argue in the book, have embraced the agenda of the drug cartels. So what does Progressive International push for? They push for open borders, which of course was not Bernie Sanders' position 15 years ago, 10 years ago. They push for open borders. The drug cartels want open borders because during the Biden administration, they made more money smuggling people across the border than they did selling drugs.
Yeah.
The corruption, the amount of corruption that flows, it doesn't seep north. It flows like a river. And he told us that there are people that have post office boxes that come in to get their government check, which the left, the progressives say, well, that doesn't happen. Of course it happens. They come up once a month, they collect their check, and they go back to Mexico or wherever else they came from. It's remarkable, isn't it?
Well, I think that the starkest thing that he said there is that the representatives here that are essentially like lobbyists, they are influenced most by the cartels.
Yeah, there it is.
And so, and if we're not realizing this, I mean, what is the reason for a lot of these representatives and senators in Congress doing a complete 180 on their beliefs? You know, like he said there, Bernie Sanders, you know, not having an open border. Well, we can go down the line of Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, even Biden, you know,
even some
Obama.
rhinos. Now hold that thought. Hold that thought. All right, yeah, it's bad policies led by bad actors that are in our Senate and Congress. All right, our podcast dropping Monday is going to focus on education. That after the break. Did you know that American homeowners nation All right, Forgotten America, you can find it on YouTube. And I want you to go there and become a subscriber today. You can see, well, all the clips of this program. You can see Forgotten America. You can see shorts. It's all there for you, Ivy. It's good stuff. Now, coming up on Monday, Alvin Louie is with us. And he is an outspoken critic of government schools in America, and for good reason. And I want people to just have a taste of this. Here it is.
It certainly explains a lot, when you begin to really dive into this and think about what you're explaining here, Alvin. This is why we're seeing what we're seeing in the streets today of these young people.
I mean, how many parents do we know? And we go to sporting events for the kids, right? Baseball, basketball, whatever it might be. And how many parents just stick the device in front of their kid, and it becomes the babysitter, and they don't pay attention because they're staring at their own damn device, right?
Right. Well, we don't allow social media in our home. Now, we do allow an hour of YouTube a day.
Which
and,
might be
and that is generally like football, baseball, anything sports related.
Sure.
And so, there's that. But I think that there are many, 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 many parents that don't have restrictions on their kids' phones. They don't think that there is a concern. Yeah, we know parents like that.
None.
And not only, you think about just the social media aspect, but also pornography and these platforms, these chat platforms where, like Snapchat is a great example where these things disappear. So this is just an atmosphere where terrible things happen, or where the kids go to have conversations that they don't want their parents to know that they're having. And I think that's very dangerous.
Well,
yeah.
It is dangerous. And
dangerous.
He might be the best guest we've had yet, just because we dive into the way they're shaping the way that your kids think and behave. And there's no consequences in the classroom if you misbehave.
Sure.
So you end up with the same attitude out on the streets. Well, there's no consequences. So there's no discipline. There's no respect, right?
No, not at all. I think it's a really tough profession for teachers today.
I agree.
Especially if you're a conservative person, because everything is being pushed towards this, socialist ideology. K through 12 education is to indoctrinate the kids, and then when you go off to college, it's then to activate them to become activists for the left. This is happening in every school in the country. There's not one school, unless it's a private school or you're homeschooling. There's no way to get around it. But there are things that are actionable that you can be doing. And when we publish that podcast on Monday, we're going to give you all those tools so that you can then go and take action against these things in your school systems, because the only way that those things are going to change is if you, as a parent or a grandparent or whatever, a member of the community that wants to see change, do these things. But I do want to get onto something else really quick before we run out of time. I don't know if you saw this, but Michigan Democratic Representative Karen Whitsett dumps the Democratic Party and won't run again because she's saying that it is completely incompatible with her Christian faith. It is impossible to be a faithful follower of Jesus Christ while remaining a member of the Democratic Party, she says. Hallelujah. I mean, amazing. Thank you for standing for truth. We need more of this. We need, I think of the Brexit movement. Maybe we need this, exit for Christians in the Democratic Party to begin exiting there and, going after, running towards their values, because we ask this question all the time. How can you not stand up for your beliefs and values? Another thing is, did you see this video? Do you know who Colin Dorgan is?
I don't.
He's the young man who his trans father murdered his mother, brother, and grandpa.
Okay.
So Anthony, if you want to play, I think that's bite one. It's the hockey. There, he won. He hit, or I guess what it is in hockey, you score the last point.
Goal.
You get a goal, yes. And it was just a heartwarming moment for him after this incredible loss. That he won. He took his high school team to the championship.
And this is after his father had killed his mother and his brother, right?
Yes.
His father, who thought it was pretending to be a woman.
He was wearing a tribute patch on his jersey for those that he lost. But if you have that, Anthony, are you playing it? I can't. I don't have a video, so.
It was overtime. I got caught on offense a little bit there, and my good buddy Cam just fed me a puck, and I just hear the crowd. But just to put it 5-hole, greatest moment of my life.
Pretty incredible moment there, giving tribute to his family that he lost not too long ago. And how amazing that he can even be out there skating after that tragic loss that he had. Pretty incredible.
I think that was Rhode Island, if memory serves. That was, about 3 weeks ago, that attack.
Yeah.
His father, who had been transitioning to a woman, whatever that means, for 7 years, had great conflict with the family because they weren't buying it. And if you saw pictures of the dude, I wouldn't be buying it either. But it murdered his mother and his brother, and somebody else died there that day as well, as I recall. But what an incredible moment, Ivy. I had not seen that.
Yeah.
That's really great.
It is. It was really incredible to see, for sure. And so I like highlighting this, a positive out of a really horrifying moment for that kid. Yeah.
Good stuff. It's been an incredibly busy week, like they all are. We're going to continue to keep an eye on those terrorist attacks in Michigan and in Virginia and everything else. Now, keep an eye on our YouTube channel. Right there it is. Right there. All you do is click that QR code with your phone. It'll take you right there. Become a subscriber. Listen to all these great podcasts now. We have a library now. How fast that happened. I'm surprised, Ivy. We have this whole collection now of great conversations for people to enjoy.
Well, we're hitting our goals.
We're
Go
hitting
check it
our
out.
goals. It was one of our goals for 26. Get the podcast off the ground. And because of her, we're getting it done. That's right, Ivy. I thank you. Love you.
It was our team. Love you.
All right. Final thoughts after this. All right. I want to take a moment and just thank you for the support of this program for the past many years. Without you listening and streaming live at YouTube or X or Facebook or wherever, we wouldn't be able to do this. We've been able to grow, reach our message. Our goal is simple. Find the facts, tell the truth. Support this country. Support God. Our baseline is so simple, right? Because there's so much noise out there. So much noise. And here's one of the things I do probably more than anything else these days when it comes to using AI. I'll see a post on X, for example, and I'll jump on and I'll read it and I'll go, you know what? Come on. And I'll just put it into Grok and say, is this true? And 9 times out of 10, it's false. False. It's just somebody clickbaiting the world and trying to get followers. And I think that's reckless and silly. Because some people, in fact, maybe most people, don't fact check. My point is to question everything. Push back, find out what the truth is, and then dig a little bit deeper. And sometimes a lot deeper to find out what's really going on. And it's sad that so many people don't do that. They just go to TikTok or Facebook or X and they just, I saw it. Here's the news. Here's the fact. When it's nowhere near being factual. So important. But we appreciate you so much. Follow us on social media. Be it the YouTube channel that we talk about. It's growing dramatically. Instagram growing dramatically. Facebook growing dramatically. X doing the same. As we continue our mission, which is to tell you the truth. So help me God every day. Tell you the truth and make sure you understand what's really happening out there beyond the clickbait headlines, all right? That really is our mission statement. Beyond the clickbait headlines, to tell you the truth. Greatly appreciate you being here. Follow us on all those social media platforms. Smash the like button, like Anthony says. And if you're in Wisconsin or Michigan, by golly, dust off the snow shovel. You're going to need it. Fight the good fight and keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is The Steve Gruber Show. And remember, my friends, only you can save America.